we say literary critic. Often the heirs of a successful writer decide to publish the manuscripts in the letter the dead writer left behind, regardless of the merit of the work. Okay, so we're saying that your offspring or whoever gets your stuff decides to publish this thing, even if it's not good. However, many writers have manuscripts that they judge to be unworthy of publication and with which they would not like to be publicly associated even after they die. Okay, so these writers have these things that they don't think are worthy being publicized. And they wouldn't like it to be done. So hence, a successful writer who decides not to publish a recently completed manuscript should destroy it immediately. All right, so what's our conclusion here, Sabrina?
The last sentence.
Yes. And why are we saying that we should destroy it immediately? As soon as you write something, you should just destroy it.
Because if they don't want it published, they should destroy it immediately because they don't know if the heirs are going to publish it later on.
Yeah, because they think because there's many things that they say are unworthy or whatever, etc., etc. So does this mean that they should destroy everything immediately right when they're done?
No, only those that are unworthy. Well, actually, no, because you don't know
Maybe
if they're gonna...
those are unworthy. But right now we're saying, like, should they for sure, as soon as they're done writing something, they should just destroy it? Do you think, what is this author failing to consider or assuming?
They're assuming that all heirs of successful writers will publish it regardless.
Yeah, or that they're gonna die and have it published, right? Like, I'm thinking, like, imagine if, like, J.K. Rowling, the first time she wrote Harry Potter, just destroyed it. Like, they're assuming that there's, like, no process in between, like, getting published and destroying it. Like, oh, I'm writing it. I never would want this published. So I might as well just rip it up. I'm like, this is terrible. Okay, so which of the following, if true, most calls into... Okay, so what kind of question is this?
Is this weaken?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we want to weaken this idea that we shouldn't destroy it immediately, what would be your prediction here? Like, why should we not destroy it immediately?
I mean, I guess it's like not all heirs are going to publish it, like, or it's not always bad.
I don't like the not all heirs because maybe the risk of it potentially happen is like still like too scary.
Okay. It might not always be bad.
Yeah, like, well, I'm thinking more like why like there's another way other than destroying it to like prevent this from happening, or like they're assuming that the risk of, or they're assuming that not being that it being public, having something published that is bad is like better, or is not like, or sorry, they would rather have all their work destroyed than potentially have something bad published.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like I'm like, well, what if, like, I'm thinking J.K. Rowling, like I would take her bad with Harry Potter. Like,
yeah, and
all right, but let's go ahead and start with A and tell me, love it, leave it, or hate it.
Some writers whose work becomes both popular and respected after they die receive no literary recognition during their lifetimes. I don't like this one. I just think it has nothing to do with it.
And yeah, some writers, so at least one, like we don't care. Like, cool, good for you. All right, what about B?
Writers who achieve a certain degree of fame can expect that some of their personal correspondence will become publicly available after they die. For me, this one has like personal correspondence. Like we're talking about like their work, like manuscripts. Like I just didn't like this one either.
Yeah, and writers who achieve a certain degree of fame can expect that some of their, where we're saying like that doesn't mean that we're talking about should their why their manuscript should not be destroyed. This should be like you shouldn't have any personal correspondence, would be like if this was what we were trying to prove. Excellent. What about C?
Most successful writers' judgments of their recently completed work is unnecessarily harsh and is often later revised. So I mean this one does do it. I guess it's the later revised part that like threw me off originally.
Oh, I love that though, because like they're assuming like nobody's perfect the first time around. Like I like should destroy it immediately. Like, no, like couldn't they revise this thing and make it better?
And then it could be published, yeah.
But I also love here where we say many writers have manuscripts that they judge to be unworthy. Well, maybe like some people have things like this is like one of those things where you think your work is terrible, but other people think it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, you're your own worst critic.
Yeah, so I really like that one.
Okay.
All right, what about D?
Onto it.
Let's hold
Uh,
on to it. Yes.
many posthumously published books would have been published by the author had the author lived. I said like this one's just assuming that if they didn't die, that they would have maybe published it. So I was like, no.
Most
I don't
posthumously,
know what that word means though.
I don't either, have been published by the author, had the posthumously published many. Oh, maybe it's like many post dying published books would have been published by the author had the author lived.
Like they just get published regardless.
Maybe, I don't know, but I don't like this one because many means like at least two, so it's too mild too. Like there's like at least two that like even if you um like even though this person died, yeah, I think that's what it's saying is like this would have been published if the person would have been alive, they eventually would have published it themselves.
Mm.
All right, and then what about E?
Some heirs of successful writers do not consider themselves qualified to judge the merits of literary work. Um, I didn't like this one either, I guess, because like it even says too that I could you say with this one though, like because we have to take the stimulus as is, that this kind of goes against the stimulus.
Well, this is saying the heirs don't think they're qualified to judge, where our stimulus is saying that the writers don't feel qualified. Like the writers.
But like with the first sentence, because it says they decide to publish it, when you like, doesn't that like go against it? I guess I was just
Just
thinking.
because they decide to publish it doesn't mean that they feel like they're qualified to judge it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
And I don't like this one because it's just at least one.
Yeah.
So this is a
I
very
think with
bad
this,
answer too.
I didn't, I guess with this answer, I didn't pay attention to like the most. That's the only one that's most because the B didn't make sense regardless. So,
Is that what you had picked as B?
what did I pick? 45, 16. Oh, I picked, yeah, I picked B.
Writers who achieve a certain degree of fame can expect that some of their personal correspondence will. I feel like that's the trap answer for sure.
Yeah.
They're saying that you shouldn't. You're like it's. Well, actually, I feel like that would strengthen it. Even if you okay, this is a bad answer, Serena, because even if you thought that this like you're even if you missed that this is talking about personal correspondence versus manuscripts, I feel like this would strengthen the idea that you should destroy it immediately because like oh you should expect for it to be published so you should just destroy it.
Yeah,
Like
I guess I took it as like maybe like oh like if you're a successful writer, you know, previous successful writers, all their work was published after they died. So I didn't honestly, I remember I didn't like any of them, none of them. I was like, wow, this is obvious to me. And I
I agree that that's the hardest whenever you think every answer is wrong and you feel like none of them are right and you just have to pick something